Well, welcome everyone to Hotline League episode 12. We've got so much stuff to talk to you about today. It's week 3 of LCS. It's all done. We're heading into week 4. We're going to be talking about all that. How's Golden Guardians going to move on now that they've lost their coach? Obviously, we're going to be talking about that. There's all sorts of crazy stuff happening in the League of Legends scene. Hotline League starts now.
Hotline League is brought to you by Omen by HP.
There we go. The new intro to the show. I did it. Oh my god! As a one-man content producing machine, this stuff is it's very complicated. Of course, I'm joined right now.
I'm still in shock. Hold on, give me another 10 minutes to catch up.
by my constant co-host, Mark Zimmerman. How's it going, Mark?
Pretty good. I am rocking the new Omen headset.
Yes, you are. We'll be talking about that in just a moment. Kelby May, how you been?
I'm doing very well. Had a lot of really good Warhammer games this weekend. Saw some good LCS. I'm in a great state.
Yep, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. There was a time where you would not have said that after watching LCS.
For the audience, I'm saying it's good.
Okay. Well, okay.
There were some fun games. All right, that's what Kelly's saying. Yeah.
And we should say, of course, as Twitch chat is pointing out, that yes, Mark is using his new Omen headset, but the audio is not from the microphone because of technical issues we're having on our end. So that's the audio quality. We'll get through the show and then we'll fix it before the next one. I like to start off the show with a little bit of an anecdote. And today's anecdote was, I got to go hang out with Avli May's mother and grandmother today, and it was hilarious. Fantastic people. I see how Avli became such a fantastic person. But it was just great, the stories that I heard that she would kill me if I talked about on stream. And she was very embarrassed the entire time. It was fantastic.
I thought that was her sister and mother.
No, that was actually her mother and grandmother.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Could have fooled me.
Yeah. Avli, I'm not the one making the joke. Kelby is. All right. Either way.
Who's joking?
Yeah, it was cool to meet. I'd like to interview her mom because her mom is coming to LCS later this split, and it's actually really fun to talk to people who are involved in the lives of these different League of Legends figures. In fact, I wasn't going to say anything, but I'll tease this out. I may or may not have interviewed Doublelift's girlfriend this past weekend as well, and so we'll see how that goes. I think it's actually going to be pretty cool.
Resident sleeper.
Well, no, it's going to be good. That's the thing is I want my goal. Okay, so the way that the same thing is what happened with the vlog or the behind the scenes that I put out. I want everybody to have one expectation and then be surprised. And so I think people will say, this interview is why are you interviewing girlfriends? That's boring. It's actually going to be pretty good. I'm excited about it. Any no response. Okay, well, let's
2 thumbs up.
Let's get.
Yeah.
I've already talked about it.
Let's get into the show. Maybe the best way to do this is to just chat a little bit about any of the interesting stuff that we saw this past week. And one of the things that I kind of want to start the show off with before we get into callers, just to whet everybody's appetite and get people thinking about stuff, is that it feels to me, and Mark, you tell me if I'm wrong, that we're just going to start to see the old teams rise again. So Team Liquid looks good. CLG's now went 0-3. Now they're 3-3. TSM coming back. And of course, Cloud9 has looked pretty consistent since the start of the split. So, do you think that that's what we're starting to see?
Pretty much. I don't know about CLG as much. They had 2 wins, but they were both kind of still a little shaky. So I'm still gonna keep my eye on CLG, but it does look like they will probably be a playoff team. If I was a betting man, I would say yes, they will make playoffs. TSM I think will rebound completely and just be pretty good again. And then Team Liquid and C9 have been crushing all split. So Echo Fox is now one of the older teams too. They're like the kind of transition team, right?
Yeah, they're like the 50-50 middle kind of, yeah.
Yeah, because they were not an old guard team, but they came in before all these new NBA teams.
Yeah. So
what do you guys think? Oh,
go ahead, Kelby.
I was gonna say, I agree with Mark. I think that based on what I've seen so far, TSM is looking to me like, and it's no surprise, as I think we've said since week 1, they're doing the rebound. CLG, yeah, based on their games too, I'm not as convinced yet that they are gonna necessarily be super strong contender later in the season. TL looks real clean. TL's games look super nice. C9's too generally. I am kind of starting to grow some concerns for Echo Fox. Even in their wins, some of the stuff just doesn't look super great, and I've said from the start, like, I want to see what happens to that team when they hit some adversity in the road, and they really haven't yet. Like, what do they look like after an 0-2 week? And 100T, I think 100T is around. I think 100T is not a pretender. I think they're a contender.
When we say contender,
Yeah.
generally we're referring to contending for the top spot. You think?
No.
Okay.
I think they're a contender
Playoff
for
contender.
semifinals.
Okay.
For sure. Like, I think they could very easily be a semifinals, maybe even a finals team. Someday, actually, though, has been, like, not looking very good to me at all. And, like, you know, I don't play League as much as I used to and stuff for sure, but he's just, I don't know, not looking like the Someday that I know.
Hey, Kelby, you want to put a veto on Travis eating? You want to put a hard veto on
I
him?
don't know,
mute the
man. I think
microphone.
we can
mute the microphone.
We can,
You guys can't hear it.
We can do production during the show. We can eat during the show.
I mean, we can eat if we want, but like I might just head out there and get like a burrito real quick. I'll be back in like 15 minutes.
I don't have veto power. This is between you two.
Yeah,
we're
awake like what?
This delicious meal.
We're awake 16 hours a day, and you have to eat during the 2 that we're live in front of 1,000 people.
The viewers want to see me happy. It adds to the good.
I don't think that's what they want. I think they're here for League of Legends, not a mukbang or whatever the hell you're trying to turn this into.
Mark.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else.
All right, let's talk about some real shit.
Yeah. Okay. Some real shit.
But I want to know what you guys think about Echo Fox versus 100T in regards to like longevity.
I think 100 Thieves is weird. I feel like there's a bit of a skill ceiling with that team that I'm concerned. Like, Ryu will never be the best at this position. Cody won't be the best at this position. Someday could have been, but ever since he's come to North America, it feels like he just doesn't quite synergize with the teams ever quite right, and he's not beating Haunter or anyone who is good in lane. So it has like they are obviously a calm team that they can play the mid and late game out fine, but I just don't know if like over a 5-game series they're gonna have the skill to match up with teams like Team Liquid who like have all that synergy and then they'll just booty blast you too. Travis,
I think Echo Fox is gonna keep it going, and I think we'll see 100T start to drop down.
Okay, gotcha.
Because I think Echo Fox has more brute force.
Yeah.
And sheer star power and all that stuff, I'm no longer hopping off this team is gonna explode cliche.
I don't know if it's a cliche after Dardoch's done it how many times.
No, but it's a cliche because literally everyone is like, anytime anybody asks about the analysis for NALCS to split, everybody's like, well, you've got this team and this team and this team, and then you've got Echo Fox, and if I can just say, I think that team is going to be very good until they explode. You know, I've said it a million times. I'm actually just mocking myself whenever I say that.
Sure.
So
I think
it's becoming a cliche. People are talking about it too much.
All right, so if we want to talk about like in-game issues beyond that, like Phoenix seems like he's the same player he's always been. And I know I already pulled a guy in, so I'll hold off on this a little bit. But he's always been mechanically good in lane, but then he just makes like some boneheaded plays. I think that's cropped up a lot in the last week and a half. Their bot lane is good, but they're streaky. So sometimes they just don't look good at all. And then obviously the whole team is just prone to those kind of like 50-50 all-in super hard plays when they don't need to do them, and they lost their first game because of that. So I think there are a lot of things you can say that might cause struggles.
That's fair.
Beyond just like, we all hate each other now. Rah.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I just feel like overall they've looked stronger than 100T, and maybe we'll see that continue. But you're right. Maybe people will figure stuff out, and I don't know. The other topic to discuss, and I think, kind of the circumstances surrounding it have made me. I talked to Mark a little bit before the show, and I think the best way to talk about the Golden Guardian situation is to say, look, there's a lot of conversation around it. I don't think this is the best forum or venue to speculate on how things went. Not all the facts are out, anything like that. So the best way really to address the conversation, I think, happy to talk about this type of thing with callers as well, but it's more around what happens next. So they lost Locodoco. Not all the knowledge of what went on is there. But now Golden Guardians has to figure out what to do because they're 0-6. They don't have a coach, or rather, they have the second coach has stepped up. Are they going to keep that guy? Are there other coaching opportunities out there? And I think what I would say is I'm really interested to see them try to pick up Cop. And Mark, I'm very curious what you think of that idea.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't mind giving the guy that they got a little bit of a chance, maybe first. And even then, like, it's hard to evaluate anyone with that roster. I feel like they need to make upgrades if they want to be competitive. And if you're just looking for long-term growth, then, like, I think you should try and find a coach who's known for that or suitable for that, which I don't know if there really are that many. So maybe Cop's a good option. But, like, the guy they have was an analyst for Immortals and Fnatic when they were with Mini Rainover during those points, and they had those really dominant splits. And then he was on Phoenix One all last year, I believe. So he has been around for a while, and I think I wouldn't mind giving him a chance and see how good he does. Whereas like Cop's, I think more of a known quantity. Because it sounds like they're giving their whole team like a chance to grow. Why not give the coaching staff a chance to grow too?
Yeah, the problem is
you're not making playoffs.
How and maybe I'll address this to Kelby. Kelby, how bad is it for the team if they go 0-18 this split, and how much should you try to avoid that, right? Because and here's, I think we can do this big rant about it or this big discussion about it, and then I'd love to hear from the callers about all this stuff, because I think my thoughts are, before Golden Guardians came out and started playing, they announced their roster and they said, look, we're long-term thinkers here, and we are trying to plan for the long term. And we are a development team, so we're going to pick up these players. We're not going to import any players, and we're going to try to think about growing them so that they are good long-term. And I think everybody at points in time have said Matt has moments where he's really good and should be better. Lorlo has moments where he's really good, should be better. You look at Team Liquid players in the past, and like half the league has been on Team Liquid at one point in time, and all seem to perform better after leaving Team Liquid, so they were good pickups. You bring in High, who's got all this leadership experience. There's a story there that I think is a good one. The problem is that the culture and NALCS, because of relegation, has created this idea that, like, if you are losing a lot, you suck. And by the way, you probably won't be around anymore, right? So I feel like the audience has now been trained that the team that's losing a lot and looks bad is one to, like, revile and just write off because they're probably not going to be around because they're going to get relegated. And now we have a situation where, let's not even talk about this weekend, but I think just even after the second weekend they were 0-4 and people were like, Golden Guardians sucks, so that team doesn't care about what they're doing. Like, the idea that if you can't win one of your first 4 games, your organization sucks and everything is terrible. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. However, I am shocked at like the negative vibe around that team given what their strategy is, and and I even feel it too when I look at them, and I suspect that you just, like, how long can you go losing a bunch of games before you have to win?
So my one thing before Kelby answers is that actually something that the team has ever communicated? Because I know it's a storyline we've pushed, the outside has pushed, but like, is there a document or an interview that I missed where it's
I feel like if you look at the interviews that Hunter and Kirk did, they said that they were building for a long-term situation, okay, and rather than trying to get all these top-tier players and rush to top-tier talent, they were fine going with the long-term, and that this kind of mirrors Golden State Warriors' strategy in the past of like looking for rookies or undervalued talent and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to speak too much because I'm an NBA noob, but that at the very least I also know that kind of plays into the broader GSW story. So Kelby, what do you think of all that? And also, how badly does this team, like, if you are Golden Guardians, you don't have to worry about relegation. You want to just prove you're like, we're fine losing Spring, because by the way, Spring doesn't really mean much, and if you don't plan on going to Worlds, like, it means almost nothing. at least going to Worlds in your first year, because you're not trying to build for the first year, you're trying to build for the second. So how bad is it if you lose all your games, and how much do you need to avoid doing that if it doesn't really matter based on your strategy?
So it's a couple parts here that I would address. Like having run CLG for a couple years, there are times in the house where it's like, dependent on personality, it can have a really, really large impact on what the rest of the sentiment within the team is and who like just the makeup of your org is. I don't know the personalities on all of that on the whole roster really well. I would hope that High and Matt, from his experience, those two would maybe be kind of more the leaders in that role to try and kind of help keep the team's morale and atmosphere up. I know from, other players and knowing High that like in general, he's pretty good at keeping things fun while being a professional player. That being said, Golden Guardians has looked pretty bad in 6 games, and like it's hard at a certain point, especially because these guys are all really competitive people. You don't get to the pro level without being a competitive person to like, not feel pretty shitty. And I don't know how they are in regards to reading and interacting with sentiment, but the other thing too that I think that is not helping the situation is that I don't see a lot of content or anything coming out from the organization to kind of help dictate the message and what's going on, aside from the typical Twitter feed. Like, I would like to see something from them to address what is going on with the team situation, what's the philosophy, how are things changing, getting some opportunity to interface with the players. Because right now, the only message that your organization is sending out is their LCS results. And that's not a very positive message, right? I would love to see something from them that obviously, even if you continue to lose, you can help tell a lighter, some sort of building towards the future side of the story. The focus on the North American talent, understanding like, hey, if we're committed to this vision, we understand in the short term, while other teams are spending money to bring in top imports and all these other things, that we are going to suffer competitively, but people are bought in, right? I'm selling the ideal version of this scenario. Right. I don't know that that's actually the way it is internally, but like everybody is bought in. We're okay. We are completely pushing into this narrative that you have identified, Travis, right? Where we're not afraid because of the fact that relegation doesn't exist anymore. We believe that in the long term, this strategy will play out because ultimately we want to see North America succeed as a region, and we want to invest in the development of North American talent and seeing them succeed on the larger stage. But there's not anything like that going out right now yet. Granted, we're 3 weeks into LCS. These guys just got formed as organizations, and now they've been struck the blow of not having their head coach around any longer. But yeah, I think that to get back to answering your original question, it's probably really rough for the morale of the team, and their games haven't looked really good. And without being in that atmosphere, I don't know how it gets turned around.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Well, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Because Mark, or which one of you guys said, oh yeah, I think it was Mark that said, maybe if your whole plan is to develop talent, you're also going to just say, okay, we're going to start to develop this coach as well. Tyler, sure. I believe his name is. And so you stick around with this coach. Alternatively, sorry, there's a creature under my desk. Alternatively, you can say, we can't go 0-18. It's just too much of a hit for the fans and the team. And so you try to bring in somebody like Cop or... I mean, if I'm also open to just... Who else could they get as a coach? Because they need to replace him.
Right.
So one is like, do you worry about this? And do you try to like just find, Cop's whole thing is that he can like figure out the meta before anybody else and bring out some picks and bans or some crazy pick and ban and strategy that will help the team win. It'll probably be even better in a best of one environment. So do you try to grab Cop? because you're like, we just need to get a couple wins, or do you just double down on the it's okay, or do you get a different coach?
If you're developing this coach, it is super hard to have somebody learn that by trial of fire if they've never led a group of professional players. You can ask Zixlal about this exact thing.
Well, I mean, or Mark, right?
Yeah.
Mark, weren't you basically in this situation too?
It's pretty different because when I joined, I was the only like staff member who had any responsibility towards like in-game things. It was like I was the analyst, and like eventually I hired other guys who were off-site, and then like season 5, Peter came in. But for a while it was just me, and I didn't have like a huge authority role for most of season 4. Yeah. Whereas like this guy has been on season 5 Fnatic when they had Dealer and they had Jarge on that team, and then he was on Immortals when they had Dylan Falco and some other people, and Weldon I think helped out for a little bit. I don't know, but he's been in like structured environments before, and Phoenix 1 as well. So he has been around enough leadership, I would hope. Maybe not living in during his earlier years, but he was more present in his later years. Like at the very least, he should have an idea of how teams run. It's not like a complete trial by fire. And so, part of it is you do eventually need to get your hands down and dirty where you're the guy and the players look to you. So,
yeah.
I mean, if this isn't the right time just because the team is bad, then like, well, who's going to hire you? like we have a great team, but we just need this guy who's never done it before.
Yeah.
Yeah. It depends entirely, I think you're right, Mark, on how much he has gotten to witness coaches leading other professional players, because that is commanding respect from pro talent, as you know, is the hardest part of the job. Not necessarily your ideas about the game or how you implement it or what your methods are for practice. It is commanding respect from the pro players and getting them to take you seriously and listen to you and trust in your method and what you're doing.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think they should get Cop. I think you just can't go 0-18. They like that would be a history setting situation. Like they set a record in the NALCS, I believe. No one has ever gone, right, Mark? I'm not crazy here. No one's ever gone undefeated. Everybody wins at least one.
I think one in 17 is the worst, and it was Coast.
Yeah.
I believe so.
So if you're Golden State Warriors, and if you're these players, I just even with the mantra that the stuff is going to take a while, I just think you can't go 0-18. It just sets too bad of a score. And like even like the 1-17 or the 2-16, like that actually does put you in a better place. And by the way, if you can get a coach like Cop or something like that who can pitch you 9th place, you can force Optic down, or you can force Clutch down by winning just a couple games or maybe a key match against them.
So I have a question. You keep saying like bring Cop in and do this because you can't go 0-18. Like, do you not feel like there should be some pressure to change the players out if that's your mentality?
No, because
and what if Cop can't get you there?
Yeah, if Cop can't get you there, I don't know. Because I think it's too late to change. Like, you bring in Cop for week 4, maybe week 5 if you can't get him for week 4. And then, that's 9 weeks. Like, you can't... You're going to have him for a couple weeks, and then you're going to make a player change at the very... Like, by that point in time, it's just too late. You're going to go 0-18, and you're screwed. But I think, they seem to be wanting to bet on the players. They were also... they had a coach in place. They lost him. So now their formula is, like, downgraded, because presumably they had a head coach, and Tyler wasn't the head coach for a reason. So now you bring in somebody else to kind of like bring you back up to the baseline that you were at before, at least. That's my thoughts. So let's we'll open up the line to some callers here in just a second, but really quickly, I want to talk about something really cool. We kind of addressed this at the start of the show as I throw their logo up on screen. Something really, really cool happened. It kind of goes back to Worlds last year, where right beforehand, Omen by HP and I spoke a little bit, and they actually hooked Broden and I up with some laptops to help us while we were producing content over there. Then Ovly, myself, and Broden got to do some really cool stuff with them at BlizzCon as well. And over the course of time, we just kind of started to talk more and more. And it turned out that they are actually really big fans of Hotline League. They like the show. And we didn't have a sponsor. And thus, 1 + 1 = 2. Omen came in as the sponsor, and they're launching as a sponsor for the show, or for the show on this episode. So thank you very much to them. Just a little bit of a spiel about them for those that don't know. Basically, the really cool thing is that this is actually a grassroots show. It's a community show, and normally a really big brand like that doesn't necessarily need to come in on something like this because they can partner on something much bigger. But in this situation, they really saw the value of the show and the content, and they wanted to come in and help it out, which is really neat of them. And I think you can kind of look around at some of the other gaming brands in the space and see, these guys might just go to an agency and say, yeah, just buy some pre-roll, buy some banner ads or whatever. But since Omen came in to the scene, into the esports scene, and really the gaming scene, because they're a relatively new brand in the gaming world, they've hit the ground running, and again, not only are they sponsoring stuff like this, but they're also sponsoring Overwatch League and all sorts of other situation teams around the world. So it's really neat to see them coming in and not just being like, oh, esports is a big thing, we're just going to buy some banner ads. And I think in talking to them, they actually really have competitive gaming in their mindset whenever they are building all their hardware and kind of figuring how they want to approach this stuff. And so it's kind of neat in that since they came around at a time when esports was getting big, they recognize that this is kind of the future of gaming, and this is something they really want to support. It's kind of neat to see that level of sponsor come into the space. And so anyway, again, they sent me a bunch of cool stuff, including a laptop and a desktop and monitor, accessories. Again, Mark is using their headset right now. It's really neat. I'm going to say that, like, a lot of times I think people get gear and then they just take a paycheck and ultimately they don't like the gear. I've been really, really enjoying the stuff that they sent me. They didn't tell me to say, recommend this if, you have to recommend it. I'm recommending it based off of my experience with it. One of the neat things was they actually have like a hard drive bay up in the front of the desktop. So whenever I had my old computer, I was just able to take the hard drive out, pop it in this little thing, and slide it in. It's kind of a cool system. And so anyway, yeah, you can know now that whenever I'm creating basically any content, including the show, that's going to be going off of Omen stuff. So I really appreciate it. Sort of to celebrate this, by the way, I'm going to drop the link into chat. If you're watching on YouTube, you can check the description as well. There's a giveaway that we're doing. I'm sure you guys have seen these before. You have a chance to win some Omen accessories. It's going to run through next week, so I'll talk about it on the show next week as well. But you can sign up for it there, and this is kind of their way of saying, of celebrating the partnership with the show and all that stuff. So again, really thank them. Mark will now get paid. That's kind of a cool thing. Kelby will not get paid because you have to hit like a certain level of quality as a co-host on this show in order to get paid, and he's working his way there.
Yeah,
But since I'm not paid, can I enter the giveaway?
Yes, you can enter the giveaway. So, and it would actually be hilarious and somewhat sketchy if you win. But we will. I believe the winners.
We'll talk about that after the show. Don't worry.
Yeah. I believe the winners are supposed to get announced next week. So we'll find out if Kelby wins there. But again, if you're watching the VOD, it'll be in the YouTube description. And if you're listening to the podcast, go find it on YouTube, or maybe I'll try and tweet out a link as well. But I'll put it one more time into the Twitch chat as well. So thanks so much to them. And I think everybody that knows that I've been trying to make this work independently rather than going back to another major media company can kind of appreciate the fact that, sponsors coming in and really helping make this kind of grassroots content work. So thank you so much to Omen. All right, now that we have ended our sponsored spiel for the episode, Mark, do you want to explain how the call-in segment works?
Absolutely. So if this is your first time watching the show, we have a Discord where people are going to be able to join to share their opinions. I'm posting it in chat right now. You're going to want to go there. And when you get there, there is going to be both text and voice channels. You need to join the voice channel. So if I decide to use you, I can pull you down to the waiting room. And then in the general text channel, you're going to post your question or ideally your topic that you want to talk about. Questions are weak. You want to hear your opinion. So, let me know. I think this team's not going to make it. I think this player is going to struggle, yada, yada, yada. And if I like it, you get pulled down to the room. And then eventually you get on air and you get to debate the great Kelby May and Travis Gafford.
The great Kelby May. And by the way, Phoenix the Fiery in Twitch chat says, "Hey, can someone in chat tell me what Kelby does at the moment?" I've been trying to figure that out for a while. Kelby, do you want to explain for everyone?
Yeah. I'm my title is Director of Sponsorship Strategy and Fulfillment at Twitch. What that means is I'm the guy at Twitch who helps out some of our larger partnered team with sponsorships that we sell for them. So we have a sales relationship with some of the big teams that you know, and I work with teams on their sponsorship deals. So like I help TSM out with Gillette. I help TM Liquid out with a couple of their deals, and I help Evil Geniuses out with all of their deals. Yeah, so that's what I do.
But Kelby does not help me with my deals, just to be clear.
Right. Do we want to get into that, Travis?
Yeah.
Do we want to?
So Kelby,
it's interesting. It's like much like you need to be a talented host to get paid, you need to be a competent content creator to get paid. So that's why it's neither of them are helping each other out.
Omen thankfully helping out the incompetent content creator Travis Gafford.
Yeah, that's myself included, obviously.
Yeah, both of us. Yeah. No, Kelby. Whenever I became independent, I asked Kelby if he would help me, and Kelby said agreed, but he wanted a payment plan that I did not agree with.
What was the payment plan, Travis?
He wanted for every $1,000 he made me, I had to play 1 hour of Dota 2 with him.
One Dota game.
I think you said one. Was it one Dota game? I think you said 1 hour.
One Dota game per $1,000.
Yeah. Either way, some of those games can go long.
They can. Yeah. So you could be stuck at longer an hour a game there.
Yeah. Either way, we should be getting questions from the chat in just a second. But really quickly, if you are a sub, and sometimes it takes a little bit of sync with Discord, so please be patient. But there's also a sub chat for you to post your question in, and it does give you a bit of a better chance at getting pulled because we check that, and it moves a little slower. So there you go.
Yeah.
Mark, do you want to grab our first friend for the day?
Yes, please. It's 45 minutes in. Let's get some people on here.
We started late.
I like
it's not 45.
Mark is sassy today.
We started late. Yeah. He's very aggressive to me. It's like I can't eat. I'm not even allowed to eat.
I like when he asked me to help veto with against you eating. That's funny.
Fantastical 2 is on the show. Fantastical 2, where are you calling from?
I'm from Seattle. Oh, I can't hear them. What the fuck?
Oh.
Hello?
But we can hear you.
Hello, Fantastical.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can now. Okay.
Okay. I think you're fantastical too.
Dropping the F-bomb right when you join the show.
15, I thought.
One way to
we
make
can
it
say
right.
fuck on here, can't we?
Yeah.
Or can we not say it because it's Omen now?
Let's just be
We
polite.
corporate now?
Yeah.
Word, my bad.
Fantastical.
We'll
I'm
keep it
just
to a
kidding.
minimum.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Fantastical. What would you like to talk about on the show?
I think that Phoenix is underrated.
Okay. Why do you think
where would you put Phoenix? Where do you think people see him, and where would you put him?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to say, just because like the talent level in general for like all lanes across the NALCS has grown a lot recently. So like, I don't know if number positions do well, but I'd put him in the top tier, whatever that means.
Like top 3?
No.
Who do you put in the top tier with him?
Like Bjerg, probably Pobe. Put Jensen in there. Really hard to say on like Fabivin or.
Because the problem is, the more people you put in there, you're like the top tier is now becoming half the LCS. So
that's what I'm saying, is that it's just become so like overloaded with skill. Like in the past, it was like Bjerg was just dicking kids left and right, and now it's like, I don't know, they're all good.
So would you say that a lot of people don't think Phoenix can go up against the best, but you're saying he can?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would put him in like the second or even third tier. But on the second stream for Riot Games, they had Fabivin and
Power of Evil.
And they were saying like Phoenix just absolutely clapped him with his Azir, which he's always been known to be really good with. But they were saying that he's like just much better than they had ever anticipated, and that like along with Pobelter, he's kind of been in the shadows with a lot of other players. And so I was just thinking, like, everyone sees Echo Fox as this team of like Huni plus Dardoch and just like rolling over other kids, but Huni has always had like a really good mid laner at his back to like have pressure somewhere else on the map so that he can go wild and do whatever he wants. And so that was like Forbidden and Pobelter in the past. And I guess, Faker's pretty good too, I guess. And so, like, I think Phoenix is really part of the thing that enables him to, like, be able to go crazy. And he's really undervalued, I think, by a lot of people. And if you look at a lot of his stats, he's got crazy high DPM and all sorts of other things. So I think people don't give him his justice or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
Mark,
always weird.
you worked with Phoenix, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know his strengths and weaknesses pretty well. And I think the community perception of him has always been he's always been a little underrated, where people just think he's not great, whatever it is. And I think he's always been mechanically capable of competing versus the top tier players. And I think he's having a good season this split, partially because he's on a team with other pressure points, and so he can play as aggressive as he wants to. Because he is a player who has like clear weaknesses, I think, where like his mid lane vision control is like not great. And that got him in a lot of trouble in the past. And I think people haven't seen Phoenix for a year and kind of forget about that. But when I watch the games, it feels very much that way, where it's still an issue. And maybe teams will start paying more attention to him. But if you just leave Phoenix in the lane and just say, go lane versus other guy, he'll typically lane even or better than them, no matter who he's against. And so I think what Forbidden and Power Regal were saying is something that a lot of people agree with right now, which is Pobelter is like number one pretty clearly, and then Jensen, Bjergsen, and Phoenix are like the other people in that tier, which I would agree with.
Mark, do you think that, because I feel like when Phoenix was on his way out of LCS, he had basically fallen from grace, right? Like people were like, there were moments where people were like, oh, Phoenix is a god, like the Mega Azir play that is maybe the most highlighted NALCS play of all time.
That was season 5, bruh. He ended season 6.
That's what I'm saying, is people remember him. There were moments where he had a big success like that, but by the time he was leaving, I feel like people were like, Phoenix sucks. And so I'm kind of curious if, one, you think that's true, and two, is the Phoenix that we're seeing now, this Phoenix that everyone cheered for and thought was pretty good?
I don't think he ever changed too much. Maybe he got worse in season 6 at the end of it a little bit, but what happens in League is like, when you're on a good team, you just look much better. Like, they're not punishing you. If you're the only threat in the team, like, that's where all the resources go, that's where they focus on, and the jungler doesn't have to be 2 places at once because you're the only threat. And so when you end up on a bad team, you look bad, or you look worse. And so season 6 summer, Team Liquid was like pretty bad. Like, they had Fabi, Darnock was getting subbed out. They brought in like 2 random people. It was who was the jungler they brought? Arc Second, who's not even a jungler, and then they brought in Jinth or something. And like, that's that famous part from Breaking Point where people think Phoenix has a bad attitude, but he was just like, who the fuck are my team? Like, who am I playing with? Who are these guys? And so he was kind of like, on a team that didn't have many other pressure points. And like I said, he has a very, I will dominate my lane play style. And if he doesn't ward well, and if he's the only threat in the team.
Dom's a jungler.
What?
He was saying, he was making a joke, and I will dominate joke. I really appreciate it. Fantastic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was in full tangent mode, so I didn't get it. But either way, he was on a team that he probably was playing a little worse. He probably had to deal with more internal stuff than he wanted to deal with. And it sounded like he wasn't particularly happy just as a person at that point, with like not sure what he wanted to do with his career. So I think a couple factors led up to him looking worse, but then I think he's mostly been the same player the whole time.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so final verdict here. Fantastical says he is underrated. Mark, it sounds like you think he's always been a little underrated, and you kind of agree with the statement?
Yeah, I think like if you ever tell me Phoenix is the best player for mids, I'd be like, you're crazy. But if you think, he can go toe-to-toe with any mid individually, then I'd say, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Kelby? I know that you've taken a break from League in the past, so I don't know, what your historical references on Phoenix, but I'm kind of curious, after you've been watching him lately, do you think he's pretty good, or do you think he doesn't deserve to be up there with Bjerg and Jensen and all those guys?
I mean, so far, yeah, no, I think Mark's assessment, obviously, and his experience with him is spot on, and this season he's looking great, and all of what Mark said and explaining the context makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thank you. That was such an easy call. In the past, we've had, like last week's episode, we had combative callers saying crazy stuff. Fantastical. Thank you for
You also had
nice,
Dash.
nice calm. Yeah, Dash as well. A nice, calm discussion, and hopefully things keep going well for you up in Seattle.
Hell yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Look, isn't this good? Twitch chat's being polite. Everyone's friends. This is the kind of environment I hope to continue to create. By the way, we've got a ton of subs that I got to get to referencing, but we don't have time for that yet because Sportsmanship has joined the call. Sportsmanship, great name, by the way. Just a fantastic name. Where are you calling from? Where are you calling from, Sportsmanship?
Did he die?
He did.
Oh, guys, no, I'm here. I'm good. Sorry, my headset. I just unplugged the charger.
Okay, that's fine. Where are you calling from?
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from North Carolina. I live at the beach in this cool little university town.
Nice. Petey Pablo fan?
I don't even know what that is.
Damn.
Nice.
Only 90s kids will know, man.
So,
Or I guess that's early 2000s? I don't know. Rise up? I don't know.
Sportsmanship,
Anyway, sorry.
What do you want to talk about while Kelby's going crazy?
All right, so I wanted to get into the stratification of the NALCS and specifically the mid tier, which I think is interesting and not talked about as much as the top teams and the bottom teams. Where I think right now we've got TSM, TL, Echo Fox, and C9 at the top. You've got FlyQuest, Golden Guardians, and Optic at the bottom, and then right in the middle of the top 4 and the bottom 3, you've got CLG, 100T, and Clutch Gaming. And I think these are teams that aren't going to be able to compete at all in playoffs with the top 4, and they're going to consistently beat the bottom 3. And I think 100T is going to burn out towards the end of the split too, because I think Meteos, Ryu, and Aframu all have problems with burnout. They might not make playoffs. CLG, solo laners looking super inconsistent. You guys brought up earlier how they have 3 wins, but one of those is against FlyQuest and another one's against either Optic or Golden Guardians. Those games don't really matter, and then they're win over.
But one of them's against Echo Fox.
Yeah, one of the game against Echo Fox was 45 minutes of stall.
Yeah,
and
that was weird.
Might win. One team fight, then they won. It's I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
So sorry, your mid tier. Can you say your mid tier again? It was 100 Thieves, CLG, and Clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But 100 Thieves has a better record right now than TSM.
Right, but TSM's wins and their trajectory, and even in their losses where they have these huge gold leads early on, they say more to me than what 100T's doing. Where I just haven't been thoroughly impressed with their games.
Yeah, I personally agree with Sportsmanship's mid tier.
Okay.
For right now.
What do you think? It is?
I might not even include Clutch Gaming.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah,
say.
I've been
saying
Clutch is in the same place
pretenders.
as FlyQuest. So at least from a ranking standpoint. So
I guess I'm going by the end of the season, where I think throughout the rest of the season, I think Clutch Gaming consistently beats FlyQuest, Golden Guardians, and Optic. They'll take games off of and lose to CLG, 100T, and then consistently are going to lose to TSM, TL, Echo Fox, and C9, which is why I put them in the mid tier.
Am I crazy for thinking that Optic could be better than FlyQuest and Clutch?
I think so.
Yes.
I don't think. I think they're I think they're 1 to 2 moves away. I just don't think that this roster can do it. Zig is getting bodied so hard every game.
Yeah.
It's painful.
Do you listen to Arrow's comms? Arrow's comms are hilarious.
You talking about in the mic checks?
Yeah.
Well, that dude's partially crazy. I'm pretty sure.
I love it, dude. I want to see that team win more.
I think they could be a playoff caliber team if they just made a couple roster upgrades, and it's not clear what those upgrades are, given that we're partial way through the season. Maybe you're scooping down into academy, but I think they won't probably be a playoff team without some they might be their losses are close. You gotta give them that.
The big point of contention here in the mid tier that I personally see is 100T versus CLG, which is interesting because it's Aframu versus his former organization. I think that those two teams are very close in my mind. I personally.
I mean,
as the season goes on, goes on, I think 100T burns out, so I'll give it to CLG, I guess, because like I said, I don't think they're going to be consistent enough with Ryu, Aframu, and Meteos all having troubles in the past with burnout. I don't see them sticking through the rest of the split, and then when one of them burns out, it's going to cause problems with the roster. All others will lose motivation. I just see that spiraling down.
I just think it's hard to bet on burnout. Meteos shouldn't burn. You could argue Meteos shouldn't burn out because he just came off of a really nice break. And whenever Doublelift had a break last year, he came back and looked pretty strong for all of summer. I feel like you could almost make the opposite argument, and especially if this team continues to show pretty good results, I would say like positive results. Like I don't think that these guys are going to be like, oh, this is so terrible. Not only that, but we're also in a best of one system, which the matches are a little less. I mean, I know it's
Yeah.
It's just I know that it's still like you play 2 days or whatever, but I think it is just less intimidating.
Right. It's less prep, I think, for sure.
The difference with Doublelift and those other players I just named, though, is Doublelift, even when he burns out, which he did have troubles with the burnout, according to what he said, still looked like the best AD in NA or close to it, like at worst, second best. Whereas like all of the other players that are on 100T have burned out and looked like hot garbage before. Like Reuse had a split where he looked like a bottom tier mid. Afromoves like inted one split, like looked like really, really questionable in lane. And then like Meteos has like retired twice. Like and then like I'm just gonna like say one more thing and then write off because I gotta go do some homework and some other stuff. Golden Guardians is a trash org, and they should have picked up Vizichachi and Hillisang in the off season because they wanted to come to NA as a duo. They were looking for a team, they couldn't find one. There's no reason why Vizichachi and Hillisang are still in EU and Matt and Lorlo on Golden Guardians. That's it. I'm out.
Okay. All right. Well,
All right.
Can I ask you one thing, Sportsmanship?
All right. What's up?
So you think Clutch Gaming will take the final playoff spot?
If I had to bet right now, I'd put it on CLG barely making it over 100T and Clutch Gaming, and I think there's no way they get out of quarterfinals.
But don't you need one more if you're grabbing the top?
Oh yeah. So like 100T and Clutch Gaming will fight for whatever the other one is, and whichever one of them makes it won't get out of quarterfinals. But it'll be 100T or Clutch Gaming for like that final slot.
It's really we've never had somebody hang up on us during the show.
Travis,
I want to keep
jilted,
talking to you. There's
bad.
like a lot of questions here. This is good, and you're just bailing on us.
I'll call in next week.
Well, okay, maybe we'll consider taking it.
I love you, Travis.
Travis is getting manhandled.
Bye, Sportsmanship.
Thanks, dude.
He'd already muted it. Like by the time you said thanks, dude, and I was saying goodbye, he'd already muted the mic and the headset. Like he was just done.
That's like he heard the parents coming up the stairs. And he's like, I gotta do homework.
Yeah, something. That's crazy. I've never seen that before. I'm flustered right now. All right,
Should I
so
get someone else, or do you need a minute to read subs?
No. We should discuss. I mean, we should break down what he was saying. So first off, do we agree with that the idea that 100 Thieves is like they're just going to burn out? Because I kind of disagree with that. I think that that's like a really big leap to make because
I think
there's really extenuating circumstances for most of the situations he talked about, and I don't even think that like Afro's poor play was because of burnout, or at least he never said that. Like it might have just been that Afro sucked during that time. Like players have ups and downs, so I think it's just like it's the type of thing where he wants to come up with the idea. He's like created an argument or like a reason to fit the argument.
I feel like Prawley is a coach, and I don't know this. I'm just saying this based off of sentiment and feeling. I feel like Prawley is a coach who would be really good at helping combat burnout because of his like personality and persona. And I think also if Nadeshot stays really engaged and keeps grinding like he is, I can tell you from actually that's gonna sound like way too like self-dignifying. I was gonna say I could say from
an esports expert, I know a lot about.
No. I was gonna say I could say from experience that when players see the owner around working hard all the time, it also helps motivates them, and that's what I was. Yeah, but
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah. Anyways, no, I wasn't gonna say owner. I meant when I say
leader.
owner, I mean like leader. Yeah. You're going a different direction. When I say self-dignifying.
Was that not a hot shot thing?
No, I was saying because I used to be in the room and like working blah blah hard all the time.
Oh.
Yeah, there's like a team runner role. Like we don't. It's interesting because we don't use the word GM really in esports.
Right.
And previously we just said owners, but that doesn't make sense in a world where like a lot of the people don't own the teams anymore. But there's like a team runner term that I think
like a
is
manager, just not general manager, but just manager.
Well, but except for like people like Hunter are more than just managers.
So you are including Hunter. I thought you were saying more like the day-to-day people who are like in the weeds with them.
Yeah,
which
but
I
do you
don't
think
think
Lead Shot is a day-to-day guy in the weeds? Like, I
No.
think that's more probably in like the other support staff.
Yeah.
whatever that guy's name is in
Yeah.
the video, I can't remember. But yeah, that's. Anyways, we're off topic. I think the burnout thing is semi-worrisome, but I'd be more concerned about that in summer than spring. Like if these guys get burnt out of spring in a franchise on a new team that's doing all right, then they should retire.
Yeah.
Just straight up. If you can't stay motivated through a season or a split, then they should probably retire.
Yeah.
Not to mention, sorry, there's a dog growling at me. Not to mention the fact, I live in a forest. Not to mention the fact that the interviews that I've done with these guys, I legitimately believe this. Sometimes people just say this, but I believe it. Like, they all seem to really like each other. Like, I get the feeling that the vibe on that team is like really positive. Everybody's having a good time. I don't think that's an environment you burn out on. You burn out on the teams where like nobody's talking because you're.
I mean, they might
losing
burn
a
out in
lot.
a different way. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
What? Anyway,
Mark got it.
it's just a very different environment, you know. So I don't buy that. I think Hunter T will contest, and I don't think that if they are the mid tier, like they will be fighting to stay in the top tier, and they'll be competitive. I think Echo Fox and Hunter T, I think, have the potential to be the most interesting stories this split. That's what I would say.
We'll see.
Oh,
Can we get somebody?
Yeah, just stall for a second because I got to read some people. But take your time. Go down there, have a conversation with them, see how they're feeling.
Pick somebody who won't abandon Travis.
All right, here we go. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this as a speed thing. Chronump has resubbed the consultant. Hatamaki LOL, Scooter 105, Vanilla Bear Scrub, Greg C397, Odd Polygon is subbed. OPTSM donated $5 his first 2-0 week for TSM. Told you bandwagon fans have no chill. I'm so ready for this Hotline League. Lil Asian 33 has subbed. Mellow Jello resubbed. Cerubix subbed. Real Fox D1 resubbed. Haven't tuned in for a few episodes, but I can't miss Kelby May episodes. Real Fox
Hell
D1,
yeah.
big Kelby May fan. And we'll get to the rest very shortly. Ben Fisher 22 is joining the call. Ben Fisher, I feel like you've been on the show before. Is this true?
No, it's not true.
Oh, I've just seen you maybe in the chat before. You're very recognizable because I think you have a Ron Paul picture on Discord.
Yeah, but long time watcher, first time caller, you know.
Okay. Where are you calling
Ben,
from?
how old are you?
I'm 20.
Fuck, why you have 22 at the end?
I don't know. I made it when I was like 12. I think it was it was
Okay.
like the Google recommended when I put in Ben Fisher.
I don't think
Sorry,
you're
go ahead.
legally allowed to have an account at 12. Ben Fisher, where are you calling from?
I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia right now.
Okay. And what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so pretty much I feel like the whole idea of scouting in League seems like kind of BS right now. And it feels to me like it pretty much is just about what team picks you up, how successful the player ends up. I'm pretty curious what Kelby's thoughts are on this.
Wait, well, I mean, so you think that scouting doesn't exist and people are just attributing the success of
Are you saying
people's scouting
doesn't
ability
exist?
based on
No,
how
no,
the player pans out, or
Or are
I
you
mean,
saying like
doesn't
career
seem-
development specifically?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to matter too much like which player. I feel like you could put any rookie into TSM and he's gonna do really well. He's gonna end up being successful, right? Whereas you can put any rookie on Golden Guardians and they're gonna be shit, you know. You have the Inoris and the Mike Youngs on Phoenix One with a little bit of pop off, but it feels like every rookie that gets picked up by these like top tier orgs, and maybe you could say that it's because of good scouting, but it seems like a little bit too good to me. It seems like it's mostly, and Mark was talking earlier about how, you know, players look better on better teams. It seems like if you're put in an environment to succeed, you'll succeed, and if you're put in an environment to fail, you'll fail. And the actual scouting itself doesn't seem to matter that much.
So I think that you're kind of right, except that you will, if you are in a
don't
better
agree with the vocabulary. That's what I don't agree with.
right. I think that maybe what you're trying to say, and please correct me if you feel like I'm leading down the wrong path. What ultimately will happen is the better environment that you are put into, which may be different for each person and personality type, by the way, depending on how you're being developed, what development style you react to, and how the other personalities on your team work with as far as teammates. You will achieve your best result quickest. And ultimately, that can affect the long-term impact of your career, depending on what you learn and at what point in your career you learn it. And if you build bad habits and, you get burnt out on shit and other stuff like that. And obviously, if you get put in a bad situation, I don't think necessarily you're doomed to be a bad player, but it's certainly going to put off you finding that situation where you become the player that you should be. Now, I think that some people have shown a really good aptitude for finding talent and being able to identify who will actually work in their system and what they value as a player, as opposed to what most people do, which is like, to be frank, the only people that can really identify and pick up professional League of Legends talent and put them in a situation where they're going to succeed are people who have a very strong understanding of not only the game, but male social dynamics. Because we have all male pro players right now, not to say that females couldn't exist in the pro scene. But like, I think that Reggie has been the best example of this up until this point, where he has pretty much exclusively picked winners and done so in situations where you could have had alternate higher profile choices that would have been what a lot of GMs probably would have taken as the easier, more secure move. And I think that sorry, let me finish real quick.
Okay.
I think that without Reggie, there is zero chance that TSM ends up at every spring and summer finals. I think that whenever things go rocky, that guy has such a fundamental core understanding of the game and knowing how to win that he is always the person that comes and get involved with the roster and gets them put on the right track. And he is the single most important development component to any North American League of Legends organization that has existed up to this point. I'm not going to say for Korea, Europe, or whatever, but
there's a lot of
But
people
you
that
don't
think
think-
Reggie's holding
Can
Team
I
TSM back at
disagree?
international events. By the way.
Can I disagree yet, or are you still going?
no. I said go for it.
Somebody in Twitch
Okay.
chat a second ago said, "Look at Kelby being self-gratifying again," and yeah, can't agree more.
So I agree Reggie is like a huge factor in why TSM is good, but I think his roster decisions are some of the easiest fucking moves anyone has ever had to make, because literally everyone is dying to play for your org due to its size. And you just get to pick the cream of the crop. They have never developed a single player. They have exclusively
Björk
coached.
is a huge
He was
development.
already
Biofrost.
he was already Biofrost. I will maybe grant you, but hold on. Hotzer was already crushing on Gravity. They picked up Bjerg after he was already crushing in Europe. Like, I agree that they work. He was getting pentakills. He was already top 3 in Europe. He was already top 3
more
in
to
Europe.
talent development than just like, are you winning or are you not, right?
Well, right. So like Bjerg was a top 3 mid in Europe with Froggen and Expeke in their prime. Like, he was a good player already. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they don't improve them, but they don't pick guys out of a hat and make them work like C9 has done to an extent. So I disagree. The one player that they really took.
Do you think that Jack is the guy
Glebe-
at C9 who is
Nope.
picking these? Yeah.
Nope, I never. No. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
So like, but Glebe is one where they tried and it was a bomb. It just failed horribly. And then they bring in Lust Boy and like, oh, they get Turtle. Well, that was after he already showed that he was a very competent player multiple times, and then they subbed him in after Chaox was being an idiot or whatever. So like, I disagree that TSM scouting is good. I think that they have the reputation and ability to get whoever they want once they stand out, which is what they tried to do again with Mike Young. And I think that's what they're really good at.
I mean, do you think there's really any players that you couldn't put into like this year's TSM roster that wouldn't be successful? Like, in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would it matter who they pick?
Yeah,
I think it does. I think because then you're left with like, well, who's making it good? Like, I think you can say a great example would be like TL has done a good job of identifying players who are good, and then they sign them, but the environment is not super conducive. And then when they move on, they start doing better. And so like that's a team where like Dom picked out a lot of those players. He was a guy who plays a lot of solo queue. He'd talk to the coaching staff, like this guy stood out. He was doing good shit. I liked him. And so like I think you can scout players and you can develop them, but I do think it is very contextual to not only how good the team is, but how good the like environment, like Kelby was saying.
Right.
So,
And
Mark,
where do you think that environment stems from in the TSM organization? Like, who is dictating that down?
Absolutely Reggie.
Yes.
And Beer. The two of them.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree that like they have a great environment there. I just don't think that they have taken like a rookie and like shown that they scouted them.
I think,
Sure.
I would
still make the argument that Bjerg is like, when you create a European, and we have seen other top European players come over to North America, especially in mid, a lot of them, and nobody has turned out to be a shade of what Bjerg has done in the NALCS.
Jensen,
granted, a lot of them haven't had as much time.
Jensen,
no, Jensen's good, but Jensen is not Bjergsen, I would argue.
Yeah, he's better right now. Oh,
okay.
Look at historically, absolutely. I'm just
Bjergsen's list of accomplishments. Yeah. You know what I'm going to say. And
Bjergsen's a lot more than like
real young when
right?
he picked him out. And yeah, he was a flashy talent. You know, somebody who looked really great. Not going to say like he was completely unknown, obviously, but he didn't take Froggen. He didn't take XPK. He had the burden of responsibility on his shoulders to have all of these choices. It is actually harder when you can pick from everybody.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, you have a plethora of options out in front of you, and you now have to decide like they're all like which is actually the superstar that you're going for. When you only have so many people to choose from, then the amount of mistakes that you can make is fewer.
I think your Liquid example would prove Kelby correct, right? Because they pick all of this great talent, but they could never make it work, right? Because they don't have the correct scouting talent, like Kelby's saying, which is personality.
Wait, that was the opposite of what I was saying.
I think Mark and I agree on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I was saying TL scouting was good. Their environments were bad.
Right.
Right, but that would imply that picking for talent, or like that there's more to identifying than just if you have all these players that you can pick from and just picking the best.
Well, sure. I'm not saying like you can throw synergy out the window, but if you go up to a buffet and it's like, hey, put a bunch of good food on my plate, and you're at a fucking top tier buffet, your likelihood of getting it right is substantially higher than if you're at some fucking bargain dollar club and it's like, hey, try and make a good appetizing meal there. So like, I fundamentally disagree that if you have to sort through the best talent in the world to come up with a team, it's more difficult than building a good roster of all NA players.
Right. No, you will for sure. Yeah. You will have a stronger team, but to pick the generational talent, which I would define Bjergsen as right now, especially for the West, it is harder when you have everybody out in front of you and you have more secure bets. And he went for the riskier pick and he panned out the way that he did.
I think the problem is, like, Ben, you want to say it's all this or it's all that or it's not this at all, but in reality it's all these different factors together. Like a team like TSM has a lot of advantages because they're in a certain position, but then they've gotten themselves to that position because of just inherent skill sets that are available to them and resources that are available to them. Certain teams are better at scouting than others. I think Cloud9 is a really good example of a team where like they do great scouting. I mean, we were talking about this ahead of time, before the LCS even started. People were doubting Licorice, and I'm like, I just don't doubt Jack. Like, even if Jack, I don't know how he handles his scouting. Surely it's not him sitting there watching all these different solo streams or whatever, but that guy consistently pulls random people and then grabs them. And I feel like, yes, there are times where teams get lucky. There are times where scouting is good. There's times where certain environments allow you to succeed, and there's certain times where like it's not. You could take the best player and put them on a shit team, and they're going to struggle. But you can also be a great team and scout someone, and you're just good at scouting. That's why you tend to be a good team.
I mean, I didn't mean to say it was all one or all the other one. I think that the scouting skill seems to be a little bit overrated. It seems like team environment and constructing a positive one seems to be drastically more important.
I think you're right and you're wrong there in that I actually don't feel like people talk about scouting talent too much. I mean, maybe I'm crazy and I'm missing stuff, but I don't feel like this is like a big conversation that has taken place in the LCS, partially because you've seen so much turnover in teams that like the amount of teams that can say we're good at scouting or we're bad at scouting are probably limited to just like a handful. Secondly, I think I forget the second thing.
Well, so what I'd say to jump in is that there's multiple kinds of scouting too. There's
Right.
like talent development scouting, which is like great. We have 3 rookies in the entire league right now. Like whoop-de-doo. You know, you have Onda, Licorice, and arguably Solo. I think are the only 3. So like, how much talent scouting really matters
Yep.
compared to I understand this person's personality. In my interviews with them, in my discussions, in my due diligence, I found that they would probably work well with these other people, yada, 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 which is where I think you can say 100 Thieves scouting seemed pretty good, that these guys all get along well, whereas like, I don't know, FlyQuest or maybe Optic, you could say the scouting maybe seemed worse, but who knows what their options were as well.
Yeah. Either way,
Right.
Ben, thank you so much for your call. This is actually a really interesting topic, and I don't mind you being a little hyperbolic with the way that you said it, because I think it's something I haven't heard too many people talk about before.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I love the show, love the content. Keep it up.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And
Thanks, Ben.
Sorry, Ron Paul's not an option for you anymore.
Have a good one, guys.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, the thing that's really different about scouting in any LCS in particular versus like traditional sports, for example, is like so many of our players we pull are from already, you know, professional leagues where we have so much tape and you know somewhat to what degree they will compete at the professional level, whereas traditional sports you're pulling from college or you're pulling even from high school sometimes. And it's like it's actually understanding how we think this person will acclimate to the professional atmosphere.
Yeah. All right. We need to start coming up with some sort of
Butt Templar?
standards.
What's wrong with Butt
Why?
Templar?
Standards for the names of the people that
It's
call into the
actually
show.
a league reference.
Butt Templar is
Yeah,
on
Cloud
the show.
Templar, but
Butt Templar, what? Where are you calling from?
I am calling from Michigan.
All right.
You could ask him what his name is too, and we wouldn't have to
Butt
call him
Templar, what would you like to talk about on the show today?
So I think all 5 or 6 dragons, I can't remember how many total, all the elemental drakes should be shown in Champ Select for LCS, and teams should be allowed to try to pick around that.
Whoa,
Oh, this is super interesting.
that's interesting. This
Yeah.
is a Mark question.
Okay,
Mark,
so you're
I've seen it on Reddit before, I think.
Monty
like,
talked,
a
or
while
maybe
ago.
someone else talked about it too, and then there was a big discussion as a result.
So in the same way that in some games you can pick a stage, you would be picking the 2 teams would be settling on what dragon spawn?
No, he's
Yeah,
saying
I
that
know.
you see which one spawn
Right.
and then you
Yeah,
draft.
I think
your
the
choice.
idea-
Okay.
I think the easiest one, the easiest plan you could do is if you see 3 infernal drakes are going to spawn, you could pick a really aggressive team and just go for dragon control. And if you get 3 drakes, you just kind of win automatically.
So first off, there's 4 elemental dragons. Let's just clear up the
Is it
number.
4 max?
Well,
No,
there's
he's saying
4
the different
types of
types.
dragons.
Oh
There's
no, I
4
meant
Oh.
total that could spawn.
Yeah, I believe it's 5, 6.
I was guessing.
Whatever,
5
there's
or
some
6.
amount.
Yeah,
You know what they were ahead of time.
yeah.
yeah.
I don't even know how to think about this.
So
Well, sorry, go ahead.
no, you guys go first because I'm the poopy pants guy in this one, the Debbie Downer.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say, the one positive that I can immediately identify is that it helps eliminates some amount of RNG
Yeah.
from the game, and more information. I personally am not a huge fan of RNG elements in competitive esports, but obviously tons of games have them to varying degrees. And I don't know enough about the game anymore to understand the dynamics of how knowing the Drake lineup would affect how heavily you're skewing your comps and picks and bans and stuff like that, and if it really forces people into playing certain stuff versus others. But I don't know. It's somebody else talk. I need to think more.
So
Yeah,
I
know.
would say,
Hey, well, here I'll say, because Mark says that you're going to wind this.
well, I'll avoid whining and talk more hypothetically about it before I become
Sure.
the Debbie Downer. But I would say it would likely not change the outcome, except in extreme circumstances. So if you're getting anything like any mix of the Drakes, you're probably not adjusting your game plan too much. If you see 3 Infernal Dragons, I feel like that's a time where you would maybe change your opinion on it.
What about
or 3
just
of any kind, really?
What about from okay, so maybe you don't change the draft. What about from like a rune or itemization standpoint? Do you still get the same stuff?
What?
Okay. Maybe you don't pick a different champion lineup or you don't ban certain things out. But when you're making rune selections or item selections in game, do you do a different build because you're going to get, I don't know. Again, like I'm an ignorant idiot when it comes to this stuff. I can't even say the word. So I'm just curious.
I would say the runes and item choices are too hard or too unimpactful relative to champion identities in the game. Like the League of Legends at its core, like is about the champions, and so you can build different things, and you can pick different runes, but like you can't make a late game champion and early game champion through a really itemization or rune choices without like going way off the path and just ending up way below the power level of an early game champion built early game. So
yeah, you also don't know who's going to get the dragon.
Well, right. So, like, I guess the idea would be like, okay, I see 3 Infernal Dragons in a row. Suddenly, Callista's priority goes up because she's strong early game. She plays on the bot side of the map, and she has good objective control. And maybe a Nunu's priority gets up for the same reasons. And I think you would maybe see some situations like that.
And I guess the point is, like, even if it only affects 1 in 20 games, that one game, it could make it a lot more interesting.
I'm going to start talking about strategy because Twitch chat is now bullying me. So
Travis, they don't even know what they're talking about either.
What do we lose by having it visible? Like how is this worse?
The element of in-game reaction, and one of the main reasons. So if you think back to when the Drake change happened, it was in a state where there were 4 dragon buffs. And those would go up at the same time every single time. Like the first Drake was like that you got was damage or something, and then the second Drake was move speed. Then the next Drake was this, and then they kind of broke them up into the 4 elemental dragons and made them random, so that when people played the game, it didn't feel like that they were doing the same thing every single time.
Right.
And so the change was more of a solo queue change to increase game diversity versus pro player balance. And
although I would argue you still have diversity, it's just scheduled diversity.
Right. Yeah. So I think I don't think it hurts the game that much, and it would be sometimes fun to see really, really crazy drafts around them.
Yeah.
And if the game is going to spawn 3 Infernal Dragons in a row and just kind of like win the game for whoever got first blood anyways, I'd at least like teams to be aware of that too.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that you like it is fun for viewers to suddenly find out what the next dragon is going to be, and for the casters to talk about it as they find out about it? Is there would you lose that by having it just sort of like pop up during champion select?
I think that's pretty minor. I don't think anyone's like, whoa, whoa, a third. No, I don't think that's the problem.
But Templar, what do you think of this conversation? Do you have anything that you think we're missing?
Well, I only brought it up because I'm not an analyst either. So I've been thinking about it, and it seems like something that would be interesting to do, just to change the dynamic of. I feel like dragons a lot of times can be a little unimportant, and this could bring a little more focus onto that.
So the reason I'm a Debbie Downer is because it's never going to happen, because I believe, based off my limited guessing, how the game is coded is that this stuff is not decided in the lobby. The only game, so this starts getting to programming, and the way that the game information works, the only thing that gets loaded into the game is what the client tells it needs to do. So you would need to take Drake generation from a in-game computation thing in the engine there, and you would need to put it into the client-side calculations, which is probably a pretty fundamental change and not something that is impossible, but it just seems pretty unlikely if you start looking at how the actual programmatic implementation would come in.
A lot of work for very little gain.
Yeah.
True. I mean, the change was made pretty late into like it's not super recent, but it's not like something that was implemented into the game originally.
Right. And so like when the game launches, the client basically says these are the champions that are going to end up in the game. Load those required assets. Load all the other assets that normally come in with game, and you would start saying like, all right, now you only need to load these dragons in the spawns or this order. I don't know. It's not impossible for sure. It's just I don't think it's how the game runs currently.
That makes a lot of sense.
But Templar, thank you so much for the call in, and
No problem. Thank you, guys.
great name. It's the brand you're building for yourself, and I respect it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How's that SOTL brand going, Travis?
Yeah, well, I'm degrading it. I'm retiring it. I'm sunsetting it. Something like that. Healer,
Okay.
healer. Donate $5 says you can probably get a boba for $5. Asmodai 510 subbed. Miles for Days subbed. Neelix subbed. Jazing. Girlish Menace. 2 months. Cruffy Dump. Matcom subbed. Hey, I know that guy. Work with him. Kelby used to work with him. We've got Slant, who
Best
previously
hire I
I
ever
said silent, but we realize it's actually Slant on the show right now. Slant, you're
Yeah,
calling
Slant.
back. Welcome back.
Yeah, I had to come back.
Yeah, and
Even to get it right this time.
glad you decided to come back. Thank you for
I read
being
it
a
as
sub.
silent too. That's hilarious.
Thank you
Yeah.
for being a sub. Where are you calling from?
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. That's right. Are you
Oh, it's East Coast callers.
are you excited about the fact that, and I don't know very
That's
much about Florida.
Oh, yeah, that is exactly what my topic is about.
Oh, okay, great. Well, yeah. Why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, so I personally like the whole. I mean, sure, like it'd be cool. It's cool that it's in Miami because that's only 4 hours from me, as opposed to, California, which is a lot more than 4 hours. But I also like it 'cause I think it's interesting and a neat like idea that they're moving to this really small theater, and making like the spring finals not as much about like just pure competitive gameplay, which according to the interview at youtube.com/user/state of the league,
You
did.
can just do youtube.com/Travis Gafford now, but thank you.
Oh, sorry, but
No, both work. And listen, no one's done that before. I respect you.
No, but I watched an interview, and he was talking about like how they want to go with like the culture of Miami and everything like that, and I think that a lot of people don't like it because it's far away from California, and it's not in the Midwest where a bunch of people are, and it's in a small theater, and that's bad. But I think that that's like will make it cool. It'll make it like more. I don't know. Like I don't think homie's the word, but it'll make it more like about like the journey to get there and MSI and all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
So
I think
you like this, even though like that are you? Do
it's
you want to attend
2.5
it?
thousand people.
Do you want to attend the event?
Oh, I'm definitely probably gonna go.
Okay.
To be
Well, you
honest,
say
yeah.
definitely, probably, but there's only 2,700 tickets available, right? So
Yeah, well,
that's
depends
the
on how
downside.
expensive tickets are mostly. Because I mean,
What- What'd you
yeah.
say?
it's more about price for me. Like I will like stay up until I don't care. If it opens at like 6 a.m. or something like that, I'd be.
Well, okay, but the problem is, let's say it opens at 10 a.m. and you don't need to worry about it too much, but the tickets are sold out within a second, and you can't go. Are you still happy then that it's in this venue?
I think I would still go, and because like
No,
they have,
no.
like, the fan meets. No, I mean like not like go in the theater, but like go and like I think that just having like plus I think that watching it online, I think that they'll have content like the Drive series. Like where they went through like all the people's like journeys into the LCS. I think there's like a possibility they could do that, but for teams. Like look at this journey to Miami and look at like and like like the spotlights of like them in Miami. Like looking through like the cool landscape and stuff.
Yes.
I don't
So
know.
you think it's cool because Miami is cool and it'll be cool. I mean, because they travel every year for this stuff. So saying it's cool that they're traveling isn't
Yeah.
particularly like a unique situation for them. But it's, saying that it's in a smaller venue, I think is the bigger thing that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that that's a big issue, but I think that like the guy said that the summer finals is the one where like everyone's like trying like they're not that the people aren't trying spring finals, but summer finals is like where it really like matters. That's like that's like to make it to Worlds, and that's to like show that you like are the best team in North America over the entire year, and that spring finals is not necessarily not as competitive as spring finals, but they want to do more like I don't know. I think that like in Chicago, I didn't go because I'm from Florida, but I watched and like you could tell it was a lot smaller.
Yeah.
It just felt more like personal. It felt like more like about like the players and like them
This
Yeah, I don't
is what is interesting to me because I expected to get a call tonight about this. And if you told me that somebody was calling from Florida and would say, I like that it's in a smaller venue, I would have been surprised because I think everybody's concerned that tickets won't be, almost certainly this thing is going to sell out. It'll sell out very quickly, and there will be a lot of frustrated Reddit posts being like, I have been playing League of Legends since before it even existed, and my family's only ever had one dream since we moved to America in 1995, and that was to attend a League of Legends live event, and this is our last chance to do it because of some reason. I don't know. The thing is a lot of people are going to be disappointed about this. I don't think it's that big of a deal because Spring Finals historically has sucked from a venue perspective because the third and fourth place match sells like shit. And so you look at this event, and it's like you're looking around in this giant arena, and it feels like it is half empty, or less. And having empty arenas just looks so bad, feels really bad. So that's why I'm happy about this. I saw the Chicago theater, or I was at the Chicago theater. I also thought that felt cool. The problem is that ultimately, I get to go regardless. So I'm not in the situation of the fan that can't go because I can Travis Gafford my way in, but other people can't do that. So I can understand why people would be frustrated, but I think this makes a lot of sense for Riot, especially in a year where I think they need to be thinking about creating like a sustainable system. And by the way, renting out a giant arena and then selling it to, selling only half the seats at a price point that allows all your fans that want to go in the area to go is not a great way to make a lot of money.
Can I share my thoughts?
Yeah.
I love the choice. Miami, I was there for Ultra, roughly the same time of year. Great at that time of year in my experience. It's a very cool city. I like it a lot. Great people. I love smaller venues for esports events, like theaters of this size. I've been to a couple events in this kind of atmosphere. It's really great, especially for noise and crowd volume and stuff like that. And not only that, but Miami is the city where they got that sign out front that says, welcome to the city where the heat is on all night on the beach to the break of dawn. So, I mean, bang up job. Excellent selection.
I'm just looking forward to the cocaine.
Okay. Moving on. I mean, the thing I like is that it matches my aesthetic for all my content. So I'm already talking to Broden. People like
You've
the
been
behind.
prepping it.
Oh, dude, we should do a live one.
Oh,
Travis,
Yeah, you
let's
should
rent
fly
out
me to
the
Miami.
studio And let's do a live one.
Yeah, fly me to Miami.
you'll just grab people off the street and ask them to give hot takes.
I feel like there's going to be
This is a
enough-
conversation.
Literally hot
This is
takes.
a conversation you should have had with me, not live on air, Mark.
I'm going to do it with the pressure of the Twitch chat that is here now. We're doing it live. We're going to get
Mojitos?
Bill O'Reilly. We're going to clip out that segment. And we're going to do it live.
We'll talk about it. Are you even free before the
I'm free.
I have no idea. Absolutely zero idea.
Kelby, you don't want to travel.
I'll go to Miami.
Maybe we'll do a Kickstarter or something like that. I'm worried about the technical challenges. It is actually easier to just buy Kelby a plane ticket than
I'll
it is
help
to
you.
come
I'll
up.
help you sell it to Omen, okay? About why we need to take the show to the next level.
Listen,
Dude, it might not work well, but we're going to try, okay?
I'm a great salesman.
No, I didn't mean the pitch pun.
Oh,
It's
okay,
called actually running a show. that none of
hello,
us
Omen.
have
My
done.
name is Kelby May, and I would like you to fly me and my friends to Miami. It's great. Well, okay, whatever. I'll think about it. Maybe we'll set the Patreon goal or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm just worried about the production because if it goes wrong, that's no bueno.
Don't be a worrywart, all right? We'll get a camera so at least we're shooting it and then we can put it up later.
Yeah.
And we'll just,
Yeah.
Miami's dope though.
Kelby,
What do you think,
you work
Mark?
for Twitch.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you have resources available to help make something like this happen?
Oh,
I mean, We'll talk about it offline.
Oh!
But
I
if we're
thought you
serious
were
about
okay
doing it-
talking about it on the show.
I need to talk to Riot about it, but I'm so serious. Like, we can do it after. Like, I don't care. I'll be done after, and we can talk about
All right,
how.
let's not make any promises live on air that we can't keep.
I'm gonna make a ton of
Live
promises.
Hotline League in Miami around the finals. We'll
What's
see you
more
there.
Miami than being disingenuous? All right, you know.
Wait, we still have a caller on the line. Slant, hello,
Yeah.
you're still here.
I didn't want to say anything to ruin your guys'
All right, so we're just all in agreement. This is awesome. It should be fine that they did it in the theater and it'll be really neat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. That was easy. Thank you, Slant. That was the easiest conversation we've ever had. Luke, by the way, who used to live with me, works with me at Yahoo. I just got a Facebook Messenger notification that just popped up from him that says, I can tech produce the live in Miami Hotline League. Ah. Thanks, Slant, for ruining
No problem.
me. I'll have a good one. Bye. You see, I said I'll have a good one.
Did chat get my Will Smith reference? I'm sure they did.
I don't know.
All right.
Mechalora donated. Thank you, Mechalora. Leviathan 111, Gloaters, Frozen Fire 52. Mechalora also resubbed, Silverbite, and Shu the Mighty. Thank you to those wonderful people. Stop. Mark, before we get into this, just so you know, Luke just committed. He messaged me on Facebook and said he'll tech produce the Hotline League live from Miami.
Dude, it's
So
happening.
now we gotta fly Luke and Kelby there.
You can't fight the tide, Travis.
Continuing with our very mature caller names tonight, we've got Bard's Threshlight on. Bard's Threshlight, what would you like to talk about, and where are you calling from?
Okay, so I'm calling from Georgia, and like I think Miami is great for the aesthetic and everything, but for everyone who's in the Southeast, like NA World Finals, the closest city to me in Georgia was Chicago, and like Texas was also Chicago, which is like a 16-hour drive. And then, so we're like, okay, maybe they'll give us something next year. And then they had the finals in Vancouver and Boston. And then they finally do one, and it's Miami, which is the tip of the panhandle. And
Wait,
I
so
live in
sorry,
Georgia.
you're in Texas.
No, I'm
No,
in
he
Georgia.
said Georgia.
Oh, you're in Georgia.
But
Okay.
the closest is still Chicago.
Okay.
But like, now it's in the panhandle of Florida, or not the panhandle, like the tip of Florida, which is about a 10-hour drive for me. And
Yeah.
I'm in the next state over. So like people from Texas, Georgia, like all the Southeast, we're kind of like being screwed over by Riot. And we have Texas A&M, who's a huge like collegiate, Georgia Tech, who's a huge collegiate. Like all these places, we're just getting skipped over.
So you said you're like 10 hours from Miami?
Yeah.
Okay. How many, I'm curious how long it takes to get from Tallahassee to Miami, because I've heard that that's actually even further than San Francisco to LA. You probably don't know, but
So I got a buddy who goes to UF in Gainesville, and we looked it up because we were thinking about it. It's and Gainesville's a little farther south. It's an 8-hour drive.
okay. So that's kind of my point is you're disappointed because there's this event happening. Also, isn't how far away is Tallahassee from you?
If I can go 120 down the
No,
interstate,
don't go 120.
Go to the legal speed
Go the
limit,
legal
please.
speed limit. Use
Okay.
Google Maps. Like, what does Google Maps say? You
hold
don't
on,
need to
let me
look it
see.
up, but I'm just saying, like, you have a friend that
It-
lives in Gainesville. How long does it take to get to him?
To get to him, it was about an 8-hour drive.
Okay. So I'm just saying, like, you had MSI pretty close to you, right?
But even then, that was only one NA team. Like every NA final has been pretty much above the Mason-Dixon line. They've never had anything south.
Wow, we're bringing the Mason-Dixon line into this.
Hey. It's a good reference point.
I mean, I not for
no
me.
matter where they pick, a lot of people are going to get skipped over.
Yeah,
It's not,
that's the
have they
problem,
done
it's
any redundant locations?
Madison Square Gardens.
Yeah, they did that
versus
for
Boston
for
and they've,
Worlds
and
and
they've done
for
Los Angeles
Yeah.
a couple times. But I mean, you got huge markets in like Texas, and you could do maybe DC one.
So
time
what
or
I've
whatnot.
heard is a rumor, and this is just a rumor, is that Texas has a lot of tax complications involved with doing events there. That being said, obviously there have been other esports events that have taken place there, so I don't know what the specific complications are for Riot, but I've heard, again, that there are one reason why Texas is not an option is because, or they haven't done anything there for tax complications. It's just a rumor. Take it as a rumor. Please, I don't want this to be on Reddit as Travis Gafford says LCS is never coming to Texas because of Trump. So,
What?
I don't know. But that's the rumor that I've heard.
Well, I'm tweeting that.
And as for stadium size, I think they could go definitely bigger because they haven't done anything down here in a while.
Yeah, I think they can go bigger. The problem is are they going to sell out the third, fourth place match? Because they did something in Vancouver and they hadn't done anything there before, and they hadn't ever done anything in Vegas, and like those things just don't sell out. I personally believe that the reason why they're pulling back on spring finals is because it doesn't sell well, especially for the third, fourth place match, and that this year with franchising and all that stuff, you actually have a reason to be more financially sustainable and reasonable. That's my guess. Which is not the answer that any fan wants to hear, but that's my sense.
Are they combo tickets? Like if you buy?
No, you sell them individually.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense then.
So maybe you could argue like, yeah, you buy a 2-day. We only sell 2-day passes, and then they're $120 a pop or something, where they'd normally be $60, and then you ensure that like the first day sells out. But then again, you're minimizing how many people can go to the event because now you took potential 40,000 seats and turned it into 20,000, that kind of thing.
Right.
So,
and you ensure the first day sells out, but you don't ensure first day attendance.
Yes.
I'm not saying you do like make it 2-day, but you do like maybe a discount for it. Like for the Sunday for the final is like $80, and then but for a 2-day, instead of being 160, it's only like.
The problem is then you risk losing money again because maybe there were people that are going to buy tickets to both days at full price, and now you're discounting them. You'd have to really figure out like, okay, we are going to. You do the math and you figure out how it works out that way or something. I don't know, and maybe there are extra ticket complications. Also, all these venues have different ways they need to do it, and certain venues are limited to certain tickets. It's like such a complex situation that I can imagine it being a pain.
I'm just saying, with Miami, they better have some really good aesthetic stuff because everyone else is just going to be upset from down here.
Yeah, I think it will be.
You guys having me on.
I can understand why people are disappointed, and I feel you. Like this was why I rallied for Canada for so long, because I was like, we're the NALCS. We've never done an event in Canada. You're just screwing over a ton of different people. I think, yes, like Riot should be thinking about this stuff a lot. I think the other thing to remember is we don't know what the player map looks like, and they tend to target areas where there's a lot of players. And just because you might feel like there's a lot of players in your area, you don't know actually how many people, maybe you're just
players.
In the big group.
You have your best friend, Prawley.
What's that?
Prawley's from Marietta.
Yep, he doesn't even live there anymore, though,
Yeah, that's not the point.
Yeah.
I think none of this is the point. Either way, Bart Specialite, thanks for coming on, and also for offering a counterpoint, I think, which is kind
thanks,
of
dude.
Situation. Yeah.
No problem. Have a great evening.
Yeah.
You as well.
You need time, Travis?
Just a couple seconds.
All right.
You can talk to, Not Kelby donated $5 and said Kelby is absolutely the best part of the show. He should 100% get paid, and a lot more than Mark. I'm just amazed someone could possibly bring so much to anything as Kelby does. I wish I was Kelby, but once again, sadly, I am not.
Wow.
It's very suspicious.
Thanks, Brittany.
The player one has subbed. David the Medic subbed. P. Dweej has subbed. Ladder Slider subbed. And Mar2586. Thank you, everyone, for the support. A lot of support today on the show, which is very nice to hear. Rico Suave is back. Hello, Rico Suave. Where are you calling from? Rico Suave. Rico.
I was just talking to him.
Rico Suave, come on. We need. Okay. Well, I'm casting him back. You're gonna have to. Hopefully, he'll get this stuff fixed. You can bring the next person. I was excited for that too. Rico Suave has been on the show before, and I'm sure had a good thing to talk about. I don't know how much you guys can hear the borking in the background. Do you hear that, Kelvin?
It's not super loud.
Okay.
I was literally just talking to him.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It's okay because we got the Hippie Steve subbing in for Rico Suave on the show. Hippie Steve, you've been on the show before, I believe.
I think I subbed earlier, like during a different show, but this is my first time calling.
Well, you know what? I remember you from that sub, as I remember all subs, and thank you for being a sub. Hippie Steve, where are you calling from?
Toledo, Ohio.
Toledo, Ohio. All right. And are you also upset that there's not an LCS finals in your location?
No. When it was last in NA, I went to Chicago and then the final in LA.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, what would you like to talk about on the show today?
I think my topic was regarding gold and high specifically.
Golden Guardians and high. Okay.
It was that high would be the fastest player to turn over to like get like an upswing in wins and results during this split, based upon how high plays and like relative to other mid laners in LCS right now.
Sorry, Can you explain what you mean? He'd be the fast, like, because he's not
sort of like a baseball, like wins over replacement sort of thing, and like just sort of his play style, because he plays more toward like side lanes. Like if you have two consistently losing side lanes, like Golden Guardians does, High does not do as well because he gives up a lot of resources to try and start snowballing them. And if they're not good to begin with, then they can't really take advantage of this sort of thing. Like High is, I looked up the stats. He's almost a level down at 15 minutes every time and things like that. And he is mechanically worse and like sort of puts his jungler on a back foot because if your mid laner isn't.
So it sounds like you're saying High sucks.
Well, I think he's saying he's not a good fit. Do you think he sucks?
Yes. I don't think he sucks. I think he's a terrible fit for the team.
Okay. I'm going to let Mark respond to this while I handle this animal.
Well, I think the other thing you were saying is that they should, if I remember, unless I pulled two people who were talking about High, you were also saying that they should replace him then. Not just that, like...
Yeah, I think...
Because someone could take your point and be thinking that you're saying, oh, High is wasted here, get him on a real team, but you're saying that High just shouldn't be on there at all from Golden Guardians' perspective, and they should get someone better?
Yeah. High isn't good for like their theory in building NA from like the ground up sort of thing. Like High has been on teams before with younger players, and no one has ever talked about High teaching any of those players like how to be a leader, how to be a shot caller. Like every time High like was sort of this sort of like golden child held in high regard, like he left and then the team sort of fell apart communication wise, had no leadership and things like that. Like he never was able to create a replacement for himself. So if Golden Guardians is trying to start something sort of like in their Warriors shadow, like he's sort of like a stopgap. He's like a team that's almost there. So they just get a guy that can like hold and like push other leads further.
I don't think that's why they got him. They got him because they thought we're going to take a lot of players who have underperformed and in some cases are rookies, and we're going to bring in like a proven leader and somebody who can like help level up a team, so that like a year or two from now, Golden Guardians, Matt, definitely those guys, or in some cases maybe they replace them. They've now sort of disseminated High's leadership and veteran experience across to the other players.
Yeah, but Hippie Steve has some pretty good points here about how like High played with that Cloud9 roster for a really long time before he departed. And when he departed, all that we saw was like none of this was like picked up by the other guys through trial of osmosis. It was just, and I don't know, maybe it's the personalities or not, but he doesn't have a history of...
I see what you're saying is that there's no evidence that he's helping level up the team. It's like he's there or he's not, and the team performs well when he's there, but if he leaves, he's not good. So getting him is like not necessarily good because it's not like he's going to raise the level of performance on the team in the long term.
Right.
Yeah. And he doesn't teach other players to like be better.
What if the previous teams didn't expect him to do that, or that was not the strategy they employed? And so Golden Guardians, knowing that this is something that they can do, are able to sort of direct it this way, where they come in and they say, "Hi, we're hiring you because you're this person. This is the role we see here. This is how we expect you to handle stuff. We want you to help." Because I would imagine High probably sees his glory days as beyond him. He's not trying to be on TSM or Cloud9 and win worlds. High is like... that's not what he's about anymore. Maybe he likes the idea of like raising another group of talent or something. So just because he didn't do this in the past doesn't mean he's not capable of it, and maybe this is something that they talked about before they brought him onto the team.
I think it's interesting. I think whether or not he can teach this team or not, who knows? It's also is that what High wants to do? And then is that also better than trying to develop a North American mid laner? You're getting more value of High supposedly teaching these guys than you would get over just getting a young mid laner who will also improve with the whole team. Also, I don't know who you would get necessarily because it's not like there's a wealth
I mean, it
of NA
doesn't
talent
have to
waiting
be
be untapped.
another NA talent though either. Like it could have been Selfie. Like there was Selfie rumors of making an LCS team this
What
morning.
about that Jizuki guy? Someone's got to be in NA scouting, or someone has to be for NA but scouting Europe because that Jizuki guy's a beast. I would have wanted that guy. But nope, no one in North America scouts new European players. They just go for the TSM strat. Wait till they look good and buy them.
Yeah, I mean, as Kelby often has said, EULCS is the development league for NALCS. So if that's the thing, then the whole point of them being in the EULCS is that you're proving them so that you can pull them over to NALCS.
Yeah, and we really appreciate EULCS for what they've done for our region. It's great farm system.
Okay, so let's bring in this topic here. Hippie Steve asserts High might not be the right player for the strategy because he might not be able to help lead the team to long-term success by disseminating information, that kind of thing. Right, Hippie Steve?
Yeah, I would say that's kind of what I'm getting at is that High isn't good for long-term growth as opposed to like a rookie or somebody much, much younger.
Yeah, and his current playstyle doesn't fit the team because he needs
strong
lanes to win. Yeah, and his lanes are not winning. So it'd be better to have somebody maybe like, I don't know, Froggen or some shit sitting there and can maybe carry the game for you off of his individual performance.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting perspective. I definitely I think it's a question where it's like, well, what? I guess only the org would know if he's providing enough growth to justify it. Because if not, then like, what are you doing with him?
Yeah.
What do you do if he's not? You just grab like Froggen or somebody else, or Mark? I mean, you were suggesting maybe they should just find like a. The problem is, you were suggesting maybe they find another rookie or new mid laner. I almost feel like at that point in time, you've got, especially with the Loco's departure, you've got like new head coach, all these players that need like to level up. I feel like you need some sort of fountain of knowledge in there to like help these guys get better.
Yeah, there needs to be like the person for a fan to latch onto, and if you get rid of High, the only person would be
I'm not
sort of.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it from a fan perspective. I think it's more just like internally, you need somebody who's going to help lift everything up, right?
What was that? What was that, Kelby?
I said, but you should be.
Yeah.
I would say also the two things I say is they should have a leader who's growing these guys, and I guess you could argue that should be Loco based off his like arguable success with GCU, but then he's no longer there. And then I think who is going to be the person for fans to latch onto? It's like, well, who are they latching onto right now? Because it's not really anybody.
This is why you get cop. Hashtag guild cop. Golden Guardians, golden cop. Hashtag guild cop.
These are some bad hashtags, but I appreciate Hippie Steve's conversation starter.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just wrap it up. Mark, do you think that that High was the wrong decision here, potentially, and that they should grab somebody else, and maybe Golden Guardian's philosophy here is flawed?
Like I said, the only people who would know would be the org. If High is not actually contributing to the growth of these players, you're already a 10th place team. Why not take a chance and give someone else the experience to play in the LCS? I don't know what they're getting out of him if it's not growth. And like you said, play style, it's not like he's winning them games either.
Kelby.
Have High coach get a new mid. I agree with what Mark said.
Have High coach get a new mid.
Yeah.
Interesting. What do you think of that, Hippie Steve?
I don't know if High is a person to do that, but that's more along the lines of something that I would like to see with them.
Interesting. All right. Well, thank you so much, Hippie Steve, for calling in. Thanks for being a sub. And looking forward to talking to you in future episodes.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right.
That was actually a good conversation starter.
It was. We've had really good. Like, people keep blowing my minds on the show. All of them. All my minds.
It's because we haven't had any TSM fans on.
Yeah, it's weird. Every show. Oh, Mark left. I'll just say this: every show has such different vibes. Like sometimes you get callers that come in and they can't articulate their argument, and it's a really weird argument that's hard to understand. Other times people come in and I'm like, that's something that no one in the industry is talking about, but maybe they should be, you know. And sometimes you got like chill stuff, maybe you got aggressive stuff. Sometimes chat is calling for blood. That happened last week. All right. Yeah,
I should have watched last week's episode.
It got intense. Haitian 305 resubbed. He says, if you do a live one in Miami, I will be there. Plus, I get to talk to Marks again. P.S. I don't know. Turtle OSP has subbed. And not Kelby donated $5. It said, I agree with not Kelby. That Kelby should be paid way more than Mark. Also, Monty is the best.
Damn.
So,
this is a man of good taste.
Well, no. This is a different man or woman. Because it was not Kelby.
This is a person of good taste.
Not Kelby. There's not Kelby. This is not Kelby, who is agreeing with not Kelby.
So the first person had good taste. This person also.
Rocket Surgeon's on the show. Rocket Surgeon, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Nice. Petey Pablo fan?
No idea what that is.
Rocket Surgeon, what do you want? What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about how academy teams, how the Academy League favors winning teams.
The Academy League favors like the Academy teams that the tournament they're playing in favors winning teams.
Yes,
Rocket Surgeon, I'm happy to let you know that you are the first person we have found that cares about Academy League. So I'm happy to talk to one of you.
All right. Well, I feel like in a world where the teams that are struggling have their academy teams and win, and undoubtedly it will happen, people start getting subbed in for their academy counterpart. It creates a stress where the starter is supposed to be mentoring this person and like teaching them all their secrets and this kind of stuff and how to be a better player, but you don't want to be telling everybody your secret sauce when you're competing against them for a job. Where like the TSM Academy team has like, I don't know, I don't even know who's on. Don't they have like Brandini and Greg and like Shady and those stuff? Like, I don't ever see a world where
I have no idea who's on any academy team.
Yeah, those three plus Mr. Raleigh and Ablaze Olive, who is the #1 scouting ground draft pick.
All future TSM players will be coming from Europe, so we don't really need to pay attention to their academy team.
Exactly. So like, I don't realistically see a world where they're gonna swap out Brandini for Hanser.
Right.
But like for some of the struggling teams like Golden Guardians and so on, like I do see a world where if Matt starts struggling, he gets swapped out for X Special, or Jenkins in the top lane if Lorlo starts to struggle, and it creates a stress that top teams don't necessarily have to deal with.
It's a weird discussion because what I would say is Academy's better for losing teams, because when you suck and your players might need to get swapped out, at least you have some knowledge because you have an academy team of who you're getting. Whereas like previously, when it was the best of 3 system, people just got new players to be subs, and then they would just swap them in and out in games until they find one that's better. Also, that's very common for all sports in the world that are team games, is like there's a depth chart and there's people behind you who are hungry to take your job, and you're supposed to be better than them. That's why you have the starting job.
Well, of course, but it's also like in football, it's also a far larger roster as opposed to just the top, like the starting top laner, the starting jungler, and then there's a 1 sub.
Yeah, of course, but like in basketball, let's say there's 5 players on the court and there's 15 people, and like you only get subbed out because you get tired. But sometimes there are position battles and they're swapping between people. Like competition is healthy in almost every industry. Generally speaking, competition is good. And I understand that it sucks to have that stress, and it would be better if you didn't have that stress. But the reason the good players don't have that stress is because they're good.
That's true. I don't know where else to go with this conversation.
No, it's fair. I'll handle it. Don't worry. This is where I come in to save the day. Mark, do you think, while we're on the topic of Academy, and specifically about the variables between bottom-tier Academy teams and top-tier Academy teams, Would you rather be on Golden Guardians Academy or would you rather be on TSM Academy?
I don't think there's as much of a difference as people think. Because if Golden Guardians wants a sub, who says they even have to go from their own academy team? If I want someone for Matt, I'm picking up Zazel. I'm calling Cloud9.
Yeah.
You know, I think the way, I don't think academy is like this league where you're necessarily just developing your own inbred talent and like you are teaching them their stuff. Like from my understanding, the most integration between the two teams is like around Cloud9's level, which is like they scrim them 1 day a week for that whole day, and then they also warm them up. But like generally speaking, the point of academy is not to like siphon off from the main team, but to have two separate teams. And academy gives players who are only known for their solo queue a place to play in a competitive setting. And the reason that's better than Challenger is because Challenger was all about getting into LCS. Now that doesn't matter, so just pick the brightest, roughest diamond that you see and hope you can polish them up to be like a legitimate player. And it does help that you do get knowledge from the main team, but they do exist in relatively separate ecosystems.
Yeah, like the starting roster is not taking their time to help development these academy kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they might do some scrims for like, where they do help them, but they also have their own where it's like now we can hide our picks and we can try really weird shit versus academy that we might break out. Like Jack's Jungle was something that only Cloud9 has played in North America, and then their academy team played it too. So you reckon that was a pick that those two kind of came up with together, and so there's value there for both teams.
That's fair. Rocket Surgeon, thanks for calling in. I think,
no problem.
Again,
Glad to be here.
As Kelby said, we haven't talked too much about academy teams. In the future, I think it probably is worth a discussion because it's sort of like, what is the value of all these academy teams? They all fight for a thing that doesn't really matter in the end. Like, are you training people for your team, or are you going to pick up other people? So I actually really appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much.
What do they win?
Nothing.
There's a playoff with a tournament, and I'm not sure if there's a prize pool.
There's not. Thank you,
So
Rocket.
they're literally playing for nothing?
Yeah.
They're playing for their jobs.
Rocket, thank you.
Thanks, man.
No problem. See you guys later.
See ya. I mean, that's what D-Leagues are in other sports. Like, what are they playing for?
Yeah. No. I feel you. But there isn't that same path that exists right now, I feel like, to LCS that exists in other sports with the amateur leagues.
By the way, Rico Suave says that they fixed their issue. So they can,
all right.
they can come in.
I'm going to throw them directly in here. We'll see what happens.
All right. Rico Suave, you've returned.
Hey, yeah, sorry. I had some app problems.
It's okay. Welcome back to the show. I remember you from the past. Can you remind me where you're living these days, where you're from?
New York City.
New York City. That's what I thought. Because I think we talked to you about like CLG and MSG and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
And you are a Twitch sub. Thank you very much for that. What do you want to talk about on this week's episode?
Since we're talking about teams and stuff, I thought we could talk about how much blame would you give a coach for their team failing? So
I thought you said
like,
blame.
Bling, yeah. How much bling would you hook up a failing coach with?
So
sorry, go ahead.
The reason I want to talk about it is because I'm seeing esports as a sports perspective. So as a coach, you try to train and mold your players and try to, I guess, prepare them for any kind of situation, from being like 2,000-3,000 goals behind to, okay, this is the person you're facing. They're most likely to do this, that, and third, and this is how you counteract with them. And, kind of using Golden Guardians as an example, they went 0-6, and at some point you start asking, okay, is it really the players themselves, or is it the coach? Is the coach not preparing them enough? Like, how much blame do you think you would give the coach for a failing team?
Can I answer?
Yeah.
So I think it depends. You can have certain situations where, and like probably only the people who are closest to the team and the team atmosphere are able to make a good judgment call, and that's where you need a good GM, is somebody who can look at this situation as independently and unbiased as possible and say, are we struggling here because the team is not performing well, or the coach is not supporting the team in the way that they need to in order for the team to perform well? Sometimes regardless of how good the coach is, and Travis, I'll bring up my favorite example to you.
Oh.
Yeah. You ready? Sometimes, for instance, Monte Cristo, when he was coaching
Fake coach,
CLG.
fake news, was not only a coach for the cameras. Fake.
Everyone knows behind the scenes that
When Monty was out in person with us when we had this boot camp and he came to LCS for a week, he had a tremendous impact with the team. When he was a remote coach, it was very difficult to get players to listen on Skype and, all this different stuff. Completely ineffective, but it wasn't Monty's fault. It was a product of the situation for him being remote versus being in person. And in person, he had much more success. So it really depends. Obviously, doesn't matter how good, could Coma come into the Golden Guardians and make them a top team in the NALCS? I think it would probably be extremely difficult and unlikely. And, could the reverse situation happen? Essentially where, Loco was the coach of, SKT 2 years ago, and is that team still win a championship? I mean, they probably still have some pretty good success, regardless of whether or not Coma is coaching them versus, Loco coaching them. But it's very, very difficult to know exactly who is impacting and to what degree they are impacting. They should be, unless you're involved in that situation.
Exactly, and that's why when CLG went to Korea for their boot camp and came back and got Yeah. Hey, buddy.
But I would argue as well that was a product of not just
Seraph walked out on scrims and shit, right? Like he got really heated about some stuff.
Yeah, there was personality issues and other issues, even outside of coaches and players, that negatively impacted that boot camp. But
yeah. Sorry, I just have to get that little.
No, it's true for sure.
But yeah, I think you look at a coach and you look at the team's expectations on paper and how good they should be, and if they vastly underperform or vastly overperform, that's probably when you start looking at the coach, as well as just general improvement. Like I think the greatest hallmark of coaching is this team improving, generally speaking. And sometimes it's beyond their control, like the meta shifts and you take a step back, or some new super team gets together and now you're not the top team anymore. That stuff happens, but it's pretty common to Optic. How good are they really? I don't know. I would not have called. My mic just hello?
Yeah, it just cut out for a second.
I don't know why I did that. But yeah, Optic is not a team that people put in the playoffs. But if this team comes together and makes the playoffs and looks decent there, I think people could say hey, Zabatine, this guy that we don't know much about, seems to be a better coach than I think people would have given him credit for.
All right, so something happened. We said Monte Cristo's name 3 times in a row, which is how you summon Monte Cristo to appear. He's now in the Twitch chat.
Wait,
he says,
yes!
Yay!
He says, in response to the Seraph thing, wildly overblown, Seraph walked out after a scrim for 10 minutes to cool his head. And he also said he wasn't completely ineffective remotely. He was mostly ineffective remotely. So there you go. He's just correcting you, Kelby.
Yeah. I think Monty appreciates the sentiment of what I was trying to get.
I mean, unless Monty wants to get in the call, I would ask.
We're wrapping up. We'll have Monty on in the future if he wants to come on, but I think if we get him on for 3 minutes and wrap up the show, the Twitch chat is going to murder me. So I'd rather get him on in the future.
Okay.
But I do have a question. I don't know if enough time has passed, Kelby, for you to be able to talk to the contractual relationship you guys had with Monty, but I'm very curious.
I don't think we had a contract. I think I just did. Oh man, shit! I should remember this. I think we paid Monty. We just sent him money.
Because my question, we just sent him money.
We just sent him money.
Just open his door and then there was a stack of cash with a CLG bag.
This is 2011, 2012 League of Legends. And
okay.
I don't want to get anybody in any tax trouble here.
Okay.
But yeah.
He says we have to misrepresent his coaching with 3 minutes left. It's true. If my question was when
I praised Monty's coaching.
I know he's flaming me. But he is a Patreon supporter. So thank you, Monty, very much for your Patreon support. But going back,
I wanted to ask him about, since we both have coached problematic AD carries, I wanted to.
Peter is a wonderful, darling child. How dare you ever slander him and say that he would be problematic, sir?
My bad. You're right.
The question is, contractually, when Monty reverted from being a real coach to a coach to the cameras, did you guys bring his number down, or how did that work out in the contract?
Well, you had to pay his day rate, so I imagine it went up, right? Because it was no longer for actual coaching. Now it was for the cameras.
Yeah, it was a production. It was a production rate. That was higher. So actually, it was more. It cost more to have him be the coach for the cameras than.
That's what I would assume.
Okay.
Are you having a laugh? Is that what's going on?
No.
Do you have something you want to talk to Monty about, Mark?
No.
What about Rico? Poor Rico's just sitting here. Hey Rico, can I share a fun fact with you? Chainsmokers also from New York.
Oh god.
You had the same.
I wanted to talk to Monty because we were talking about the effectiveness of coaches and how much blame you put on them for things that go wrong. I wanted to ask him about, given that he was also in a difficult team environment from what people have said, and obviously he was remote for the majority of the time, so maybe less of the onus is on him. But when things go wrong in a team, how much of that is structural and coaching? Because I feel like on the outside, a lot of people like to say, oh, well, this team blew up, the coaches should have had a better handle on it. And sometimes it's well, I mean, that player is just how that player is.
Yeah.
And so as someone who has that firsthand experience, I want to chat with him about it. But,
well, maybe we'll grab him on in the future because it does feel like that's a long conversation. But I want to thank Monty for being a patron. Also want to thank Monty, or rather point out,
is
Monty,
he a sub?
I don't know if he's a sub yet, but hopefully someone
will gift that man a sub.
Yeah. If there's one thing Monty wants, it's even more money going to me in his name. But Monty and I have a lot in common. We are both incredibly popular esports figures on incredible, groundbreaking esports production sponsored by Omen. So I think that's the situation. Hotline League and Overwatch League that's the joke.
Overwatch League starts on time though.
That's true. Well, actually, I don't know if it does because it was supposed to start in 2017. Anyway, Rico, you have anything you want to say here at the end on the topic?
I guess throw my opinion. I think the coach should be responsible for at least 60% of a team's performance. That's it.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for wrapping up the show, Rico, and thanks for being a sub. Always great to have you on. Looking forward to talking to you in the future. All right, and now we're out. So let's wrap the show. Mark, anything that you want to say? And Boba Cola has gifted a sub to Monte Cristo. Congratulations, Monte Cristo.
Yeah, they're all great emotes.
You can use a Kelby
they are good emotes.
You now have a Kelby emote, so you can while you're casting Overwatch League, you can spam Kelby into the chat when big plays come out. Anyway, sorry, Mark. Back to you.
I don't have too much to say. This week sucks. I have to go through a bunch of emails to hire another editor for Offline TV, so I've just been going through people's reels, and I need to do interviews, and we're probably going to shoot this week.
Have you found any really good ones?
To find a junior.
I found 2 that I like out of about 30 I've gone through. About 15 feel like the same person, or 2 groups of people, and then about probably 5 to 10 are just outright why'd you even email me?
Speaking, by the way, of the same people, somebody named Definitely Not Kelby donated $5 and said, I agree with Not Kelby and Not Kelby that Kelby definitely needs to be paid as much, if not more so than Mark, and would like this donation to specifically go directly to Kelby.
What?
Oh man,
there's the Kelby laugh.
I gotta say this: the people who watch this show in general seem to have very good taste.
I mean, they're watching the show; they can't have that good a taste.
Yes.
I mean, it's Monday night at 10 p.m. on the PST. Half these people are probably asleep. There's probably 10 people in chat actually.
Scrapjack has subbed. Boba Cola, of course, gifted the sub to Monte Cristo, and RX Dealer 89 has subbed. We're going to get to Kelby in just a minute. Really quickly, as people start to drop out, I'm going to hang out for a couple minutes extra on the show, so if you want to hang out and chat with me for just a few moments afterwards, and then I'll probably host Avali, who I think is probably going to start streaming in a moment. Kelly, what do you got for us?
I just wanted to give a shout-out to Fenron Jenkins, who is the premier. No, all the other times
normally
I talk
he
about
shouts
the
out Chainsmokers. Yeah.
Didn't you do Fenron last week or 2 weeks ago?
I think Travis hosted him.
I did.
No, but Kelby did it first, and then you did it again last week. I feel like it's been 3 weeks of this guy. Am I wrong? I might be crazy.
No, just
Well,
just once.
regardless,
I
you should be
hosted Fenron last
appreciative-
week. I hosted Fenron last week is what happened.
Yeah, you should be appreciative of the fact that this guy is a great Total War Warhammer 2 broadcaster. If you're into that game, check him out. Him and Ellich TV. Best Total War Warhammer 2 broadcasters for sure. You'll learn a lot about the game watching those guys.
Monty says he was only watching the show for you, Kelby. There you go.
I only watch Overwatch League for money, so we're there. We're even.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. If you didn't watch it this past weekend or during right as the show was starting, I aired it. Check out the behind the scenes that I did with. I put it up on Saturday over on my YouTube channel. It's behind the scenes of Travis Gafford's LCS. Even if you just watch the first minute, you should. I think you might enjoy it. Broden, who is a producer, I worked with him since Yahoo. He and I are trying to kind of come up with some cool premium content that kind of sits alongside the massive amount of LCS interviews we produce each week, and I'm kind of wanting to show off just how good this guy is at doing stuff. And
Emily
I think
just subbed.
What's that?
Whoa, Emily just subbed.
She did. Actually, Real Foxy gifted a sub to Emily. There we
Oh,
go.
okay, there we go. No one actually subs to this channel.
No, but no famous people. They know how incorrect everything we say is. But Broden and I think he's just a super talented guy. Hopefully that's the first of a bunch of different types of kind of cool, unique content we're going to be able to put out. And really it's kind of exploring what can we put out that is different from what Riot and the teams put out. And so I think that behind the scenes thing was something that could only have come from an individual like myself. So hopefully we get to see more stuff like that again in the future. But shout out to Broden for that. What, Mark?
No, it can only come from me. It will only come from an individual like
Who
myself.
else?
Anyone.
You?
Anyone.
You're on the analyst desk, the
Anybody.
State Farm analyst desk, Mark.
Anyone could have made that. It was good. I'm just saying,
Brun's got some nice shots going on in there.
Yeah.
He knows
Also-
how to aim the camera.
Also, I loved in the Doublelift interview where he talked about Broden's aura. That dude absolutely has an aura.
Does he?
Yeah, you don't feel the chill, or maybe you've become indoctrinated into it already. But
I think you
first-
smell the aura more than you feel the aura.
I feel the aura, dude. I show up to that guy, he's just chill, and he's got this smile on. He's like, "How's it going?" And you can tell he's just a chill guy.
Usually he says nothing.
Broden's really cool.
Yeah, look, all right. Listen, I wanted to praise Broden here at the end. Now you guys are praising him, so I feel like, you know what? At the end of this,
I'm
anti-shout out to Broden.
I will say one thing for Travis, although I say many things for Travis. He picks the best producers consistently.
Yeah, the problem is everybody likes the producers more than they like me. That's always been the history.
Yeah, but that's why it's good that you have such a great eye for them, because no one would like if you didn't have good producers. If the producers weren't good, who would ever talk to you?
That's true.
It takes a big person to pick somebody more likable than themselves to work with them, especially when they're an on-camera personality.
The hippie Steve donated $5 and said, "See you guys in Miami for the live show." And Go Clutch Gaming Go donated $4.20 and said, "I found the CG social media guy. I told him what you said. He said he likes chain smokers." So there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was a good burn right back there. Fuck.
Real Foxy also gifted a sub to Counterlogic Gaming. Welcome Counterlogic Gaming to the party. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. This has been I think episode 12, I believe. And also thanks to Omen by HP for being our first sponsor ever on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hotline League.